Hello, Hans Raj. How you doing? I mean, Mr. Swan King. Yeah.
Oh, you actually put it as Swan King. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're Swan King, man. You are the swan.
Come on your lawn, ring your doorbell, come sing along.
Hey, papa tutata bange. Ooh. So this is a special day because I'd say this is our first semi-professional stream. Even though, you know, we're professional as fuck. But I think we're looking pretty good. Anybody is welcome to chat through YouTube or Twitch. Facebook is just a corporatocracy and run by what, the CIA or the FBI? Which one is it?
I thought it was the Borg.
Yeah, the Borg. They've assimilated them. So we can't really do nothing about that. So good luck chatting on there. I'll look at your messages later and maybe comment. We'll see. But Hans and I just wanted to jump on here. And Hans, do you want me to call you Hans? It's going to be hard not to. Or do you want to be called Swan King on here?
What else would you call me?
All right, cool. So we just had a few dreams recently that we wanted to talk about and share with y'all, and maybe throw down a little light interpretation for the night, get into a groove, and talk about kind of how the finer details in dreams really bring out the meaning, or even just like the small metaphors and things, the things that you actually really notice out of the corner of your eye or even right in front of your face, what those coat buttons looked like, how the waves moved, how you felt in a moment of bliss or sheer terror. But Hans, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first with the dream I had last night?
Yeah, I'd love to share my dream. I'd love to share it.
Hit it, brother. It's all you.
So we wake up that day. We're initiates, and we're going in our society. We live under this giant mountain. And you'd think it'd look like a cave, but it's actually hollowed out so much that it's almost its whole own ecosystem. And through the middle of the cave, there's this shaft, and it goes down. It seems endless, but it's got to be like a mile down. And I would say that it spirals in a staircase up, but it's such a gradual spiral up the shaft of the mountain that it's almost flat, because that's how large it is. And then on different sections, there's like housing, and then there's like a cafeteria. And it almost seemed like there wasn't that much technology like we think of it. Like there wasn't like televisions and phones and cars, but it seemed like they had some sort of, or we had some sort of higher technology to have been able to do all of the stuff that we were doing. And it was also lit up like it was daylight, but I knew that we were within a mountain. And so I don't know if anybody's seen Vikings, but Ragnar, one of the main characters in that,
wait. Vikings, like the TV show Vikings?
Yes.
Okay, because I've never seen an actual Viking before, so just had to clarify.
There's at least 2 mirrors in view, so I don't know how you haven't seen yourself lately. Yeah, so Ragnar with the piercing, beautiful blue eyes that I'm sure were like CGI'd on there, or contacts that he wore.
Wow.
So Ragnar's there.
So dreamy.
And he's telling us, he's like, okay, y'all are being like, this is the initiation. And we had all known about it throughout the whole life in the society. You know that you're going to go through this. But one of the laws was that you're not supposed to say anything about what happens within the initiation, or tell anyone before they go through it what's going on. So we go to the very top of this spiral where I'd never been before, and it starts becoming just like a wild. It was almost like Yellowstone National Park. It was like a wild park, and there started being trees, and we're all in the mountain, but somehow there's trees and there's all of this wildlife. And we get on these ATVs and we're going up an 85-degree incline, and I'm trying to hold on to the ATV and lean forward, because I know if I lean backward, I'm going to fall into the void. So I'm leaning forward, and we get to the top of that, and we come out and there's like 6 or 7 initiates, and Ragnar's like, of course, he's like, okay, Hans, it's your turn to go. You go first. I'm like, oh, of course that's how it works. So I go and he tells us it's basically like an obstacle course, and you try to get as far as you can. Yeah, and that's all they tell you is basically like you're trying to get to like the top. You're trying to get out of this. I guess we're getting out of the
So
mountain.
you
And
were still inside the original giant mountain with the staircase, or were
it's
you?
almost like the spiral goes up, and there's a boundary to the left of me eventually, but it's like hundreds of yards, and then to the right of me, the boundary is falling into the middle, and it still
Oh,
spirals up like that. So
huh.
you're still spiraling up, but you have to go through all of this terrain as you go up.
Whoa. Okay. So it's like outdoors inside a mountain.
Yes.
All right. Was there a light source, or was it just
Dream
ambient?
logic. There was,
Dream logic.
yeah, exactly, dream logic.
Bravo.
It's this thing where things just make sense, even though that they make no logical sense whatsoever. Yeah, so there was no light source, but there was light everywhere. Yeah, so
Dream
so I
logic.
go in the very first obstacle, and I'm afraid of heights. Like this is one of the most terrifying things for me. So the very first
Tall
obstacle is
people.
like a 6 foot. You know how hard it is when you fall when you're tall. That's my theory. Is that why tall people don't
They're
like heights?
afraid. Yeah.
Because if a tall person falls, they're gonna break something. They know if they're even higher than that, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt a lot. Yeah. No, that's how I feel too. Heavy, heavy. When you're tall, you're heavy. You know, and us Viking dudes with like Norwegian blood in our past. I mean, look at your hair. Like, it's totally a very Viking, like Anglo-Saxon look to you. I come from Norway, at least some of my blood. So like broad shoulders, kind of small hips, very top heavy. One gust of wind and we're just over the edge of a cliff. It's easy. It's easy. It's an over, you know. But
All
sorry to
right, so
interrupt.
I'm literally over the edge of a cliff, and I'm looking, and it's like a 6 foot jump, and you grab on this like rusty ladder that looks like it's been there for generations of people doing this initiation. So I run and I jump and I grab the ladder and I go up, and I'm like, okay, like that one was easy, like whatever. And then like the next one, the next like obstacle I come to is this pool of water, and there was nothing telling me that this water was going over the edge. So I guess I could have walked on the edge around, but I don't remember that being an option because dream logic. So I'm just looking at this water and I'm like, okay, piranha, sharks, let's go. And I jump and like don't hesitate much, and I jump on a like the furthest stone, and then I dive in. I go and I'm like, okay. I climb up and I'm like, okay, past the sharks and the piranha. I'm like, easy, like let's go. And then
Now,
there's like a station.
I gotta ask because like you said there were other initiates with you, right?
You go one at a time because they're
Oh,
not
so
allowed to see. That's part of the thing. They're
oh,
not allowed to see how you get through the obstacle.
of
You have to do it
course.
all on your own, and you're not allowed,
The
no
whole
matter how far
course.
you get, you're not allowed to tell anyone what you did or what's even there.
Mm.
So then I go and there's these ATVs, and it's like an ATV station. I'm like, all right, I'm hopping back on the ATV, and I go and I'm going through the woods, and it's like all rocky, and there's a pack of coyotes. And I'm like, ah, shit.
Shit.
Land sharks, land piranha. Round 3, round 2. So I'm going and I have them on my tail, and then there's a pack of wolves, and I'm like, there's a pack of wolves and a pack of coyotes. Maybe they'll just start attacking each other, and I can use this. So I go like I veer actually directly into the wolves, and then I got a pack of
Old
wolves and a
move.
pack of coyotes
Oh
chasing me.
shit.
So they don't even care about each other. They're like, that's definitely the target. So now I'm going, and the wolves are smarter than the coyotes, and they actually get beside me, and they start pushing me towards the center where there's just the big gaping hole down to the center floor. So I get flanked by these two packs, and then one of them, I don't know if it was a coyote or a wolf, but it goes and it literally knocks me off, and me the wolf and the ATVs just start falling through the void, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm not initiated. And I start falling. But then as soon as I'm just like, okay, I lost, I'm just teleported out. And Ragnar's there and he's like, okay, buddy. Like he pats me on the shoulder and he's like, it's all right. He's like, it's okay. Like, nobody makes it the first time. And only like 1% of people ever make it all the way through. And that was it. That was a good one.
Hey, that almost, whenever you said that last bit, it almost reminded me of like the embrace of after death, or how it would be like, hey buddy, you kind of fucked up there at the end, but hey, it's your first go, you never know what's gonna happen. Go ahead, we'll try next year, it'll be okay, take a break, rest up, it'll be fine. So if I could ask you, if there was like one thing that really stuck out to you in that whole dream that you felt really strongly about, like whether it was just seeing the landscape or the intensity of knowing you're fucked at that moment where you fall into the void or whatever, like was there an emotional response you had that was strongest throughout that dream, like a climax?
So this dream in particular, like there was very few like heights of emotion. Like even though I was in danger the whole time, it was almost like at the back of my mind, I knew I wasn't gonna actually die. But I don't think I was told like, hey, we have the ability to just like teleport you out and you not really be hurt. But it was almost like I subconsciously knew that I wasn't gonna be hurt. So there wasn't really much heightened emotions. But a lot of my dreams are like this where it's not, it's actually kind of funny. It's like the opposite of what you've been saying. Some of them are, it's the little details, but a lot of mine are, it's the overall like allegory of the dream. Like all of it together is the meaning. And with this one, I really got like, hey, uh, you learn so much from failure. Like it's not even about that you got to the third level or anything like that. Um, it's about that you tried to do it, and that in failing, oh, and then another thing at the end, you said like you get to try it again next year, like you do it every year. And the whole point of it is to actually, you're not judging yourself against anybody else, you're judging it against yourself in the past. It's
Hmm.
okay, are you smarter this year, can you get around those coyotes, can you do something differently? And that's what I really liked about it. And I thought I got some insight from is all of these things in my life that I'm trying, all these projects, like we're getting into live streaming, like with the tea farm that I work at. It's
Hans
uh,
runs a great tea farm. I haven't been there yet, but I've had some of the tea. Actually, no, you haven't grown. You haven't actually. You just harvested your first batch of tea today,
I
didn't
made
you?
I made towards you the 1 ounce that we
Oh,
processed. Yeah, I think I did.
hell yeah.
But I think that's what this dream was telling me. That it's like even if you're failing, you're gaining something, and failing isn't bad. Failing is how you learn the most. So fail often and hard. And then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah. I feel like there's a really good saying about that, about like the grace of failure. Um, and you know, it's really easy to be, and I kind of get that too. How I was talking about emotion, and a lot of times, like I get a lot of meaning in like small details and the overarching concept of a dream, or even just in life. But it's very interesting because a lot of times you have to look at your failures very stoically to find that nugget of wisdom, or at least that clarity to kind of see like, oh yeah, okay, that's where I maybe made the wrong decision, or I moved into a state of like confusion, or that's what got under my skin and I allowed it to take over. Because I think a lot of times our emotions can get in the way of a lot of things. Even though they can show us a ton about ourselves, they can also get in the way of like learning. like the learning process. Like I find that a lot of times when I'm learning something new, the first step is for me to humble myself because I think I'm kind of smart. You know, I think as people, we try to think the best of ourselves, just naturally, self-preservation and stuff. But it's really important whenever you're listening to a teacher to trust that what they're teaching, and this life could be an excellent teacher. You fall from a rock, you're like, shit, what could I have done? Did I need to be stronger? Did I need to put my foot a better angle? You know, did I need to be smarter about my limits? There's so many different things you can learn from, you know, falling on your ass.
Yeah, and what I learned is that next time I'm not going to get on the ATV because the ATV is loud and it's going to draw those predators to me. I'm going to sneak around and go to the outer edge and see if I can get downwind of them. How can you be downwind in a mountain? This is going to be, I'm going to have to think about this one for next
Well,
year.
hey, there should be no wind in a mountain
That's
unless the shape creates an updraft from heat convection currents.
I'll kill a shark from the one before and I'll drench myself in the shark blood. And then, no.
No, no, they're wolves. They're land sharks. Maybe you make a shark suit because shark skin is really tough.
I like it. They got dermal denticles.
Dermal denticles.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite biological concepts. They're like little. That's what makes their skin sandpapery. It's almost like teeth on their skin.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's a really,
that one was a fairly easy one to interpret for me because the whole thing of it was kind of set up to fail. And like even
yeah.
within the society, they're like, yeah, dude, it's not about winning in the end. It's about how hard you try and that you do better the next time.
Can you imagine having some ancient magic or whatever that allowed you to go through this obstacle course that looks deadly but does that same thing? Like, can you imagine people lining up to do this crazy thing that allows you to learn at such density, so real and visceral, yet at the end you just teleport back to the start? It's like, all right, you get to think about it for a year, then come back. Honestly, it sounds a lot like it has a really strong metaphor to life for me. That's what it kind of seems like, is like whether, you know, reincarnation's actually a thing or whatever, it kind of seems like even just day-to-day life, you know, you get to go to sleep and, you know, a lot of times I feel like dreams can be training simulations and like kind of put you back in, or they can express the thoughts you have that are causing you stress or, you know, elation from the day before, or just kind of what's been going on with yourself. It's very interesting. That's a really fun story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, buddy, you got one for us too?
Yeah, so mine's a bit goofy. I haven't interpreted this at all. I'm a big old goofball, my static ass hair. I only condition every night my hair, but yeah, we're talking about cosmetics on Phantasmagoria. But I shampooed for the first time like 3 weeks last night, so there's like no oil in my hair. Takes forever to do that shit, so I'm dry as fuck. But yeah, last night I honestly slept like a babe too. I woke up refreshed. So maybe my dreams were just fun because I needed it. But what basically happens is I start out on vacation. No. I start out and we are, as a family, every time I am with my family in dreams, it's usually on vacation, but this was a bit different. We were going to visit my grandma, and she was kind of in a retirement home, hospital situation, and she was not looking good. This is my grandma Nunny, and she's a bit batshit insane as it is, but my dad, I guess, was going through some shit, and we're like by her bedside, and she's like barely in it, like she's like all dementia'd out, and like really, like, it's sad to see. And it's like, fuck, man. Like, I didn't think she was this bad, because usually she's pretty cognizant, if not hearing impaired and a little bit insane. But so my dad gets really drunk at like the hospice bar. I don't know. He comes in with like a bottle of like Goldschlager or like whiskey or something, and he's like grabs my grandma by her ankle and starts swinging her around the room. Literally like back and forth like this, like, oh, you're fine, why are you acting so sad, like, you're fine. And she's like, Michael, oh God, Michael, stop it, put me down. And he's like, he like puts her down. He's like, see, you're fine. You just need a little excitement in your life. And that's when I'm like, wait a second. She literally should have fallen apart by my dad doing that to her. And she seems fine. Like, she just stood up on her own from the ground. And I look at her bedside, and it looks like there's just tons of pills and like drugs by her bedside. And I'm like, what are these? And I like look at them, and some of them are like, whoa, this is definitely some hard shit. Like, what is going on here? And I kind of ask her, and she's like, yeah, like a man brings these pills to me and I have to take them. And they always kind of knock me out or whatever. And I'm like, Nunny, I think you're being drugged. And my mom comes over, because she's a nurse, and she's like, yeah, these are really hard drugs. Like, this is a cocktail for like killing yourself. And Nunny's like, like, what are you going to do? And we're like, what the fuck? And then at that moment, like, we see the door was kind of edged open a little bit, and then it shuts. And I'm like, get him! And we all like run to the door, and all of a sudden we're in this like big manor inside, and there's like people running everywhere, and there's a dude running down the hall, but like everybody's in scrubs. And so we're like chasing people around, and it's kind of like, you know, the scenes in Scooby-Doo where like they're running through the halls and then like they cross each other and like, you know, do all this stuff. And like we like smack into each other and shit. Well, that's what's happening. And like we're just like beating the shit out of like anyone. We're like, fuck it, hit them all, like take them all out. So like as a family, we're
family revolt.
yeah, and we're like knocking these people out. Like even old people, we're like, in a walker, who cares? Like knocking them out. And Nunny's even like hitting people with shoes and shit. And so that goes on for a while, which is really, honestly, after a while I was like, why are we doing this? And then finally I see the guy, and he like looks at me and he's like, jumps down an elevator shaft that's like a minecart shaft, like all rickety. And I'm like, family, over here. And they're like taking too long, so I'm like, I'm going down. And I jump down like Mario. I'm like, ba-ding! And fall down this shaft like hundreds and hundreds of feet through pitch darkness, through like ancient earth, and like it was weird. It was like as I was falling down this shaft, all of a sudden like I started getting weightless, and the shaft ended, but I was outside in a sunny day and was kind of like floating down, and like I land on this like sidewalk road next to this really big dam, and the road is like on a mound, and I'm like right here, and like the mound kind of extends, but on this side is like this big old kind of brick wooden beam steel building, very industrial. It looks like an old dam, and lots of windows on it. It looks just kind of abandoned, but like the water's kind of flowing under this man-made mound, and like there's one channel that the water's flowing over and down, like a very algae ridden slide. And I see an old friend, my friend Sarah, I'll just say Sarah G, you probably know who that is, and she's a beautiful woman, and she's in like a sundress, and she just like is like, Joel, what's up? And she's like, come in the water. And she like runs up to the slide, and she's like, come on, like grabs my hand and like runs down and like slides on her knees like this, like beautifully. Like the water's like spraying, she doesn't scratch her knees at all, and she's like she like glides like a swan into the water. And like next to her is like a few other friends, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, heck yeah, beautiful day. And I like belly slide into this, and
Wait a sec. So where's creepy dude? Didn't he jump down the hole? So that's just gone. Creepy dude's just he's out of the story.
I may have had a dream lapse, but sometimes it's just scenes, you know, and these are the scenes I remember.
I feel you.
But it literally felt like a hole opened up in the sky, and I was just like out of that situation and into a new one. And maybe they're related, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And so, you know, I slide into the water, and it's really nice warm water, and it's really soothing, and we're just hanging out. And I remember that I should be doing something with my family, and I'm like, shit, I need to get home. Like, I probably shouldn't stay out here too long. And like the sun was setting, and I was like, okay, I need to go home. And I remember like getting back up, and they're like, stay, no, like hang out with us. I was like, nah, I gotta get going. And so I go home, and I decide like, oh, you know what, I probably shouldn't show up empty handed. I'm gonna buy some eggs. So I just get some eggs, and all of a sudden I'm home. Like, there was no traveling. It was just like I had eggs and I'm home. Dream logic. And so I'm home, and it's kind of like breakfast time. And my old dog, who's in real life has passed away since, Curly, and he's a golden doodle, big fluffer, like super cute, like very happy to see me. And I'm like, Curly, what's up, man? Like, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. And he's just like, yeah. And like, I'm like, oh yeah, I got eggs. Like, I'm gonna start cooking eggs. And my family's there, and they're like kneading dough. We were gonna make some like pancakes or whatever. And you know, it's my mom, dad, Natalie, and Grace, you know, my sisters, and Curly. And I start cracking eggs, and I crack this one egg, and I hear chip, chip, chip. And I'm like, and my little sister's right next to me, and she's like, I think there's a chicken in there. And I'm like, hold on. And I grab a fork, and I'm like taking away like the little bits, and all of a sudden this duck bill goes, like, kicks out, and it's like, whack, whack, whack. And I'm like, that's not a chicken, that's a duck. And it was a cute little, all of a sudden,
first, just to mess with you.
Yeah, I don't know. And the duck was so cute. Like, it had a whole personality, and it was all of a sudden bigger than the egg could have ever held. It just like came out of the egg and was like, bow. It was like Psyduck coming out, like, bah. And so he like goes on the ground. I'm like, I have a duck. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm chasing the duck around because he's so cute, and he's like waddling around. He's like, quack, 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 quack. It's like baby duck, so fluffy. Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden there's like a baby version of Curly, like this size, and he has really coarse hair. Like I found him on my travel home, and I totally forgot until this moment. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like sitting down, and I'm like, I now have a dog and a duck, and I rescued both of them. Oh my God. Throwback.
Except if it was Stroll 2, you wouldn't have gotten any eggs.
No. Milk's milk's good for ya. Yeah. So we I just remember sitting there playing with my duck and my new dog, and I rescued both of them, and I was very happy about that. And we had breakfast, and then I woke up.
I'm so interested in what the duck means to you.
The duck or the dog?
With the duck, both of them. What does the duck mean to you? I'm so interested in that.
I mean, the duck to me, like, it was really important that I now had animals that I had, like, rescued.
You were the protector.
Yeah,
Architect.
like, that's, I always love feeling that. Any opportunity I get, whether it's dreams or life, there's usually some aspect of that. And in life, I don't ever really want to buy a dog, but I really want to have a dog. So I just expect that one day I'm going to run into a dog that needs my help, and it's not going to have an owner. or something like that. And so I was very happy that like I just had animals now that I could care for. And I think a duck has always kind of reminded me of like a farm life too. And like the dog was very much like a farm dog. Like it had lived outside for a while. Like its hair was very oily and matted and coarse, but he was clean and happy and not like unhealthy at all. Um, but it seemed to me that like the duck and the dog never had, it was obvious to me that they never had anybody to care for them, and now I was there to care for them. And so in a weird way it felt like this symbiotic filling of a void for both of us. And past that, like I don't.
There's got to be something more to it. Was in an egg, and then you were literally going to eat it, and
Yeah,
then now it's
yeah, it was in an egg. I was gonna eat it. It was a chicken. I thought it was a chicken. My sister freaked out. This was also an interesting thing, is my sister started freaking out and was like, oh my god, ew, oh my god, we were about to eat a chicken, like, oh my god, like a baby chicken, oh my god. And I was just like, okay, it's fine, I'm just gonna open this up and see what comes out. And like a duck came out, and I was really elated by that. Like it was like the best joke in the world that I thought this thing was a chicken, but it's a duck. And like I've eaten duck eggs before, they're pretty good, but like who knew I bought a carton of them? And I think too, it's like not everything needs you to protect it, but it's really nice when you have somebody to. And that's what it felt like, was like, hey bros, it's gonna be us bros from now on. And that's something that is important as a lesson to me, is that like I don't need to be a protector to be validated or a good human. But it's really nice, and it's a good opportunity, and something I really enjoy to be a part of, is whether being protected or a protector. Because my sisters have always protected me as well. Like they've always been very much there for me, especially my older sister, and my younger sister has always been very supportive. And that whole dream was really about like, it kind of felt like, because in the first, I'll say there's like 3 sections. The first section was about a nefarious plot against my grandmother to like kill her slowly and naturally without our family knowing, but our family pooling together to do anything we could to stop that plot from happening.
even punching people.
Even punching old people and jumping down an elevator shaft. And then it's also really funny how drunk my dad was. Like that was a really good joke too. Like seeing him throw my grandma around. It was ridiculous.
There's a lot packed in there, man. That might be one that a year from now you look back on and see a completely different way.
Yeah. But so the second scene was falling into a beautiful situation at a picturesque dam with I'm pretty sure there were 2 women from my past there that like I've had crushes on in the past, and they're beautiful people, and it was very nice, but I've also kind of had very shallow relationships with them, and they wanted me to stay. And this is actually a good part for this dream, is what it felt like was beauty. Absolute beauty's there, and it's amazing, and I just want to witness it, but I have something better to do. Like that was an important part of that. That I fell into this, and that's the thing, I literally fell and floated into that situation, saw beauty, was entranced by it, fell into it, slid down the slide, everything was beautiful, but I knew there was something tickling me that I had to go back to my family to take care of. And so leaving that like was an important step into continuing the dream that way. Which wasn't like an easy thing, because there's like 2 beautiful women splashing me in a freaking pond like in a beautiful like sunset. So like I do kind of remember seeing the options. Like I could go into the unknown, into purpose, or I could stay here and camp out for the night and have like probably an amazing night. And I decided to go with the purpose. And that feels like a lot of what I've been trying to do. And you kind of talked about this, how we're starting live streaming, and we've got other projects we're trying to do. I've recently gotten into cryptocurrency, which all this stuff is very stress inducing, but it's also really important. And maybe going in and seeing the duck and the dog is like, because I see ducks and dogs as kind of like purely, there's no evil within them. Ducks may quack and bite and be weird, but like I see ducks as a very free being that can travel the earth with their feet, fly with their wings, and dive into the water. Like they can do all three terrains, right?
That's a really good point. And they also don't have an echo because their quack is the same forward as backwards. And when it hits a wall and reverberates back, it cancels each other out. Duck, quack, acoustics, one and one.
Whack. Whack. Interesting. So, and a dog is just like a loyal companion. So like maybe like the last scene, the last kind of vision was kind of the essence of reciprocating and receiving the effects of the hard decision that I've made to go into purpose. And that is being in a kitchen, a place of sustenance and a place of wealth and a place of health and work and community. I think kitchen is one of the most communal places that'll ever exist in any sort of community setting. And with my family, people that love and support me, which could easily be seen as a tribe, and this duck pops out, a totally unexpected coincidence of me bringing home the bacon in a way, like bringing home the eggs, you know, like I made the decision, I brought home the eggs for food for my family, and then it turned into a best friend. And then there was even an extra reward of the dog as a best friend that I now get to protect and cherish and keep. So to me, this dream, and even in the beginning, you know, metaphorically, you could see the beginning as like, last year I was not in a good state of health and had a really bad mental state. You know, everything going on with COVID and everything was just stressful and really scary, and trying to figure things out. And so maybe that was like the mad dash of my family. My dad getting drunk and fucked up and swinging my grandma around was like, to me, in how I kind of tried to shake myself out of my own, you know, shitty mindset and bit of depression or just extreme sorrow. And then we're like, fuck, that's the person we need. We need to beat them up. And then the craziness of like us chasing that person and trying to find them may have been me trying to find a purpose last year, something to rally behind, and me trying to eventually get to what we've started here, which this is probably the thing I've been most consistent with since last year, other than my 9-to-5 kind of job. That's probably the best interpretation I can get, is the 3 stages of...
And I'm getting something, see if this has any truth to you. So you said the dog was literally your old dog Curly as a puppy and tiny? And Curly's kind of like, he's like a part of your past. And this duck came from an egg, and that's like, an egg is the symbol of the future. Like it has all of the potential for the next generation. So it's almost like your past and your present and your future like coming together and like reconciling.
Yeah, that's... I mean, that does feel good. And that's kind of how it felt too, is like the past, the present, and the future. You know, that middle scene was I feel like more of like a test, more of a decision to be made.
Mhm.
to transition from the past to the future, because inevitably in life, if you stay in bliss too long, it loses its taste and the sourness kind of seeps in, and all of a sudden, like, you're bitter and you haven't experienced purpose and you haven't experienced the hard choices that kind of come with purpose, or even just the grating feeling of like waking up and like doing your 9 to 5 routine and all that stuff. Like, you know, like how I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but it's a very simple concept. It's like putting in the work and reaping the rewards of it. Like, you can't reap rewards if there isn't any work to be done, you know? Like, you know, I'm sure in a lot of circumstances you can, but I've found that the best rewards come through the hardest work.
All right.
All right. Hey, man, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to put down the doobie.
Dream time.
Dream time. Oh, yeah.
That
Um,
I say we wrap this one up, buddy.
yeah, I think that was good. Well, thank you for, I think we had one viewer that tuned in. Thank you, whoever the frick you were. But we will be putting this on YouTube, and we will be doing more. Pretty soon, we are going to have a good friend. I just made some new friends in the place that I live. And they are some African spiritualists through, I really want to get this right, through, I think, the African spiritualism Ewa. Obviously, she'll be, you know, her and her husband will be talking to y'all pretty soon. I'm gonna get me, Hans, Aremu, and Jackie on here to talk about what they're doing. They are fantastically dreamy people with big visions, and I'm excited to introduce Hans Raj to them and see what's up. And then we'll probably be doing some live streams on her channel, and we'll have her and Aremu on ours, and we'll all be great friends.
And also be looking out in the next few weeks. We're gonna get our the infamous Gerard Lebrecq on
The lumberjack.
our dream doctor, and he's gonna be going through, maybe with my cousin Caitlin, uh, how one begins their journey on dream interpretation. And I think what we're going to do is a series where um, he walks through his method with Caitlin, and then they do that together, and then they come on the stream and walk through the process of how someone begins to learn dream interpretation. So I think that's going to be a really cool series that we're getting on behind the works, behind the
Yeah.
scenes right now.
Yeah. I think we're gonna try and bring her on pretty soon, just to give a nice introduction and see what she has to see, just her experience. And I haven't ever met her before, so I'm excited to make a new friend. But yeah, this is all the time we have today, and thank you for tuning in. Peace, y'all. Stay dreamy.